Hi, how are you today? This is Greg Lewis, the city manager here in Lebanon. This is a great day for me because we've been working very hard within the city, the teams and the departments, and now it's is at the council level, the city council level, and all that work is all about the budget. Now, citizens, we hope all the citizens that are listening to the show, the residents, people that pay the taxes, pay special attention to what's coming down here. And this is the beginning of the 2015 formal budget process. We'll have these budget work sessions all during the month of November, and you can find them on the city's website. Today, I'm going to basically help share the message that I shared yesterday with the city council when I presented it to them in the work session. It's the opening work session. Cities really, I've come to the conclusion, are very much organic organizations and entities. That is, that they're there for a meaning, a purpose. And in Lebanon, the meaning and purpose has been carefully refined and defined by a work of a great many citizens in Lebanon to come up with the idea of Lebanon and 2030. And it's a sustainable Lebanon 2030. And so that master plan was adopted, and now we are working to achieve the master plan. And this last year, the previous year, for 2014, the year we're in right now, I proposed a 3-year pilot as a city manager, 2014, 2015, and 2016. And now we have begun the pilot. The pilot is intended to kind of both be a guide and a model for possibilities of how we might in Lebanon move toward a sustainable Lebanon by 2030. To do that, we're going to have to face some challenges, but there are some wonderful opportunities within the mix in our community. So with that, we're plunging forward for the second year of our pilot program as we guide ourselves forward to reach a sustainable Lebanon. First of all, often on this show, you'll hear me make comments about the nature of Lebanon. And I include the nature of West Lebanon as well, of course. I think it's the idea that when I come to it, it's a destination. It's been a destination for many who have lived here many, many years, going decades and centuries. And there are those of us who have come more recently to Lebanon and West Lebanon and found that this is really a welcoming place. It is a vibrant place. You can see the level of activity. All we have to do is check the different corridors in the city. There's a mixture of things going on here in terms of the type of housing involved, the jobs that are available in our community. There's a very low jobless rate in our city, and that there's educational opportunities for all of us. And you watch and you see things like the Upper Valley News, and you'll see sections where there's an opportunity to have a learning experience in Lebanon. And that's kind of the way Lebanon is. But Lebanon is really also about its neighborhoods, which some might call villages. That really there's a comfort and safety in living in a neighborhood, living in a village. I live in West Lebanon, my wife and I do, and there's a comfort in the area that we live in. And it's a comfortable setting, and it's a comfortable way of pursuit of life, enjoyments. And we have accessibility and a real basis to our basic physical needs of life. And these neighborhoods are really important to us. There's a lot of culture here in Lebanon. There's a lot of heritage in Lebanon. And these things that exist in Lebanon are really unusual as they come together, and there's kind of a big synergy about it. We think that we're a very valuable resource for the state of New Hampshire. And the people that come here and they enjoy visiting us, and the people who call it home, like myself, we've got to do some things, though, that in this 2015-2016 pilot, we're starting it out. 2014 is almost finished now, and it's kind of been in a rear view mirror for us right now. The challenges that have jumped out at us are really the two greatest ones, starting with the most significant, and it's really, very, very, very difficult sometimes. The complexity of our infrastructure in Lebanon. Because our infrastructure in its life cycling everything has a beginning and everything has an end. And that when you do life cycling of infrastructure, you'll see people that will say that life cycling of infrastructure can be between a 40 to 60 year range. Well, a great many of the infrastructure items that we have in Lebanon were constructed where they're either in the 40-year, 50-year, or 60-year range. And this naturally, that there's a deterioration in that infrastructure and its performance. And that performance, as it goes down, we have to step in and take care of it and address it. Now, the way one would have done it, maybe the ideal and best way, would be have a continuously robust paving, reconstruction, repair, and maintenance program that would cover everything we have, from roads, bridges, tunnels, sidewalks, cemeteries, everything we have. But the finances, the way the city operates, where it's really a property tax-based system under New Hampshire law, makes it very difficult to run that kind of robust program. Instead, you find yourself running a projects program where we're always doing infrastructure projects. This year, we have reached a real epic effort to address infrastructure that has been compounded with a very huge CSO project that's ongoing. That's separation of water and sewer, where we're trying to keep separate these two types of drainage systems so that we protect the environment and we live up to an obligation that's been in an agreement with the EPA. And the fact of the climate change that has been occurring here. From the previous year past to a tropical storm to this last year of microbursts that really did devastating impact on Slayton Hill Road, on Dulac Street, and other parts of the city such as Storrs Hill, and also on our airport property. Bring that together, we had to finance that during the last year. And so that really puts another strain on us. And of course, how do you pay for this? You end up paying out of two sources, and one is financing it, going in debt, doing bonds. The other is to try to use our capital reserves. We've been putting capital reserves to play in Lebanon, some very frugal and careful stewardship from our financial leaders, in particular our financial leader and our director, Lynn Jarvie. That has been helped cushion this blow that was taken in this climate change events that were extreme weather. But nevertheless, it presses us to start slowing our capital reserves. We continue to have a high indebtedness. And you'll see later in terms of the messages that a great deal of the money that the city spends is on the infrastructure. Now, the other area of extreme importance to us is public safety. It's imperative that we keep this city a safe and secure place for ourselves, for our families, for our children, for our friends, for our neighbors, for our businesses. We must have a safe environment in order to prosper and be vibrant as we are. Those are the things that we were about. They also are our strengths, but they kind of be our exposures too. We're in vulnerable positions on both the infrastructure and on public safety because we're very adjacent to interstate highways, which can often be the pathway by which different criminal activity can take place. It can also provide environmental exposures to us, in the form of what occurs and what's being trafficked along our highways in you might notice the large trucks, and also you notice in the rail systems that are very adjacent to us, very robust over in White River Junction, and we have some spillover into our West Lebanon area. These areas are very important to us. And while we're doing it, we've decided that it's very obvious, and I think the analysis is that we cannot go alone. So we have to build partnerships in our community. We have to pull together. And in order to pull together, we've got to bring our public side, our public sector, and that public sector is not just the city, but it's also the school district. Where the school district has the largest tax impact on the city of Lebanon residents. And then, of course, we have the county, which is a lesser impact. But we need to pull together our local jurisdictions. And we need to pull together our nonprofit sectors. And some of them nonprofit sectors are some of our nonprofit institutions that really have caused us to be a destination community. And that would be like Destination, our medical center, Destination, the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. We're also a destination for Dartmouth College, because although Dartmouth College is located in Hanover, and we always got to remind people that Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center is located in Lebanon, but the Dartmouth College has a great deal of property and, of course, a great deal of interest in Lebanon. So these are very impactful institutional situations where, world-class institutions, they certainly will impact the city in which they are operating, and that is us. Finally, we are really home of some entrepreneurial, private sector investment, building, development, and really some of the finest kinds of technologies and technical developments you can find. They're world class. They extend across the world, whether it's a hypertherm or it's geocon, whether it's Kempkin. We have many operations going on in our area that other places would just scream to have. I mean, because they're just the type of economy that are really the economy for the 21st century. So there, Lebanon has all those blessings. And what we've got to do is we've got to try to work together to marshal all these sectors and all these very important elements into a unified and cohesive front to make the city the destination city it is, and achieve outcomes that's going to allow it to be a sustainable community, a resilient community. That's really what we have come to the conclusion is the future of Lebanon, is to be a collaborative, sustainable, and resilient community based on taking all the many functions. And I use an arrow diagram often. And the arrow diagram that we currently have shows some really remarkable arrows which are symbolized human activities. They're very strong, but they're not pointed all in the same direction. They are going many directions, and so with the many directions, there's many functions that are involved. And there is really a compass north, where the arrow always points toward the north as on the compass. And so we've got to work together to figure a way to accommodate the diversity of the arrows that are very strong and powerful in terms of human nature and human endeavor. And we need to take these arrows and we need to try to reconcile and build a consensus of what all those that are umbrellaed under these arrows can come together and live with. That's called consensus. So we've got to build a sustainable community consensus. In doing this, we have a guide, and the biggest guide is our master plan. If you have not read the master plan at this time, you'll find it on the website, the Lebanon website. I encourage every citizen in Lebanon to read the master plan. I encourage it to be taught to the children in Lebanon, that all the children in Lebanon become aware of what's in the master plan. Because a lot of the best thoughts of the citizens that live here are contained in that plan. And those thoughts can lead to a future that's a shared future of collaboration, of cooperation, of great communication. And in that endeavor, we can have a commitment to the community as a destination for all of us, whether we've been here for 100 years or whether we've been here for 4 years. Whatever it takes, we need to go all in. We can't hold back on building relationships in our city. We got to move forward. To do this part, in terms of master plan, we've got to get a handle and continue to pursue capital improvement plan. This capital improvement plan is largely dominated by our CSO, which are separation of water sewer I referred to earlier. We should finish that by the end of this decade. We are looking at 2018 as the beginning of our last projects, and we'll have to finish that off and get that completed, because we need to pivot to whatever the next big thing is. And there's a number of opportunities. We have a water plant that's going to need to be looked at, because we want clean and healthy water. You can't have a community that's sustainable and resilient without clean and healthy water conditions. We have been upgrading our wastewater treatment facility. We're going to have to continue to examine that. We need to examine our downtown areas. You know, the latest thing in the downtown Lebanon area is the indication that we have a tunnel underneath the parking lot in the downtown area that has reached this kind of level of its life cycle, as I referred to earlier, that these capital infrastructures are reaching their conclusion. We're going to have to take a look at maybe what are the alternatives in downtown Lebanon. And the same at the other side of the city next to Connecticut River, we're going to have to look at what's the plan for West Lebanon, because there's another village, another essential village, and there's the Westboro Yard, rail yards, which has been challenging. There's brownfields in that yard, but it's really, you know, a great opportunity if we and the private, nonprofit, and public sectors could pull together in both downtown areas. We need to look at what it's going to take, and we need to keep focusing and honing on these outcomes. You'll see that on our website. You'll see the outcomes that we're working on. At the same time, we need to learn and know more about the rules of the road that we operate under. Our regulatory schemes are left over from previous eras. Now we have to carefully and cautiously and prudently approach how we change, if we change, a regulatory scheme. Regulatory schemes come in all sizes and shapes, and includes the zoning code, our building codes, any health codes that we decided we need, any other particular types of codes we need. Maybe we need to approach downtown areas by creating a community consensus template that might lay out that this is the destination and where we should be and how it should be. And then we should build standards, and then we should move toward fulfilling those standards and do infilling in the downtown Lebanon area and the downtown West Lebanon area. We need to ask ourselves about the idea of having a destination medical center. The medical center is an incredible footprint on our community. It is such a world-class operation, and that they need a place in which to operate, and we need them in the place in which we live. And we need to reconcile and plan together and work collaboratively together to see if we could find a shared destination place for all of us, both those who live in the private sector here, those who are residents who just love living here, and those who come here for the clinic, the medical clinic, all the medical care at the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. And we have to make sure we have a connection and a relationship with the understanding of all the land owned by Dartmouth College with Dartmouth College. In tackling this, we'll have to look at all the long-range financial possibilities and approaches that we could have. We need to plan for the infrastructure. We got to have better street maintenance. Right now, we don't put as much money into paving, reconstruction, and repairs, I mentioned. We need to figure a way to put more money in. The bridges, we have several red flag bridges in our community where really we need to take and deal with those bridges. And that comes in when you deal with a tunnel, you need to deal with some bridges. Some of our main thoroughfares, certainly need to be relooked at. And the one we're looking at is the Mechanic Street, and we need to work with that so we have connectivity with Mechanic Street from downtown Lebanon, take it all the way up Sim Hill into West Lebanon. At the same time, we need to take the Muskoma Greenway, which is extremely important to us for quality of life, for connectivity, to build the sense of community. And we need to go from West Lebanon to Lebanon and on to the Northern Rail Trail. We need to connect these rivers and become probably better river keepers with the Muskoma River and with the Connecticut River. All these things we can do, and the city's role in terms of its outcome is that we want to make sure we have excellent planning. That's first and foremost. And excellent planning is really excellent planning through a combination, as I've said, public, private, nonprofit sector funding, city stakeholder partnerships, and a working environment that promotes cooperative and collaborative teamwork. With that, excellent planning is achievable. We can enhance and be supportive and help provide guidance on economic vitality. And largely, it's been very laissez-faire in terms of economic vitality, and it's proved very well. It's certainly very vibrant and robust. But the people that are engaged in this economic vitality, they need they need a totality of a place. It needs to be holistically a complete package in terms of what it takes for not only to work but also to live. And you can't have a curve that says, I enjoy my work life because the kind of job I have is really an exquisite job, and I work for it as a really employer that's really crest the wave. It's really global. It's world class. And then I live in a place that it doesn't meet all the amenities you need in a place, which all the infrastructure needs you have, all the recreational opportunities you have, all the environmental concerns you have. You cannot neglect those in the place you live in because you have a really remarkable place to work. You have to have the whole package, or it doesn't work for you. Or you end up having people commute 45 minutes from their home to their work, and then 45 minutes back, and you spend an hour and a half on a day on the road, and then how it affects you personally and how it affects your home life. Those are not the kind of values and the way we should be looking at living in a quality world for our future. We want to make sure that those who have the needs, that there's no one left behind, that this is kind of a sea rise approach, that when the sea raises, everyone raises. Everyone rises as we lift everybody up. And we want to make sure that our nonprofit community and our own general assistance program are meeting the needs of those who find themselves in difficulties, and they need those reaching out, those mentoring and partnering, and trying to help meet the necessities of life. And if someone's vulnerable, we cannot forget that, and we must help those who are vulnerable. All the time, we've got to be good stewards, and that's a real strong point for us, because the city has had excellent audits, very, very clear, very clean. The latest budget book that you'll see, it's online. It's been worked and worked and worked, and I don't know how many times have been rewritten, and it's got better and better and better. And that's showing up for the benefit of all of us, because to be a good steward of the public treasure is the highest calling that we have in public life. Our regulatory updates that we've got to do, we got to look at everything we have for workflow. We need to continue to look at all the workflow of the city. Efficiency, examine everything for if we can make things work better. Our tech and IT department has been really exquisite. Our IT consultant, they are just very, I think they've got a real good grasp of what the world of technology should look like in the public sector. In the private sector, we've got some really great technology leaders in the private sector. So I think there's such great assets for the city. The zoning amendments, as I mentioned earlier, as other codes, need to be looked at. We need to get community input. We need to gather the facts. But we've got to move forward, and that's the only way to do it. In the themes of our city, a shared economy and a shared sense of place. Remember that. A shared economy and a shared sense of place. Lebanon is a home to 13,000 people, but it's a daily destination for thousands more. And some have said 20,000, some have said up to 35,000. Every day people enter our city. They enter for health care, they enter for shopping, for work, to eat, be entertained, visit their friends and their families, to bank, to refuel, to have their vehicles repaired, to further education, to get such simple things as getting a haircut, or exercise, or recreate, or go to a hardware store, to volunteer, and more. All these activities require the use of resources in one form or the other. All these resources are distributed within the boundaries of our community. In order to truly move us into the future, we must engage in sharing our resources and creating a sense of place that is welcome to all that are destined to be here in Lebanon. It's a destination. It's a destiny for Lebanon. We need to align, and the arrows that I talked about earlier need to come in and all point north. And these goals are achievable. That's the wonderful thing. They're achievable, but they do not come lightly. They do not come without sacrifice. You know, there's so much going on in our world, and I think we all have to come and look at a higher calling. That to say, well, we can get along, and we really aren't called upon to sacrifice. We're here to try to protect our own and keep our own, but you know, to call for a sacrifice for the public good, to provide the service and the commitment to a higher calling of there's a greater thing than just us individually. I think that that comes into play with regards to how we contribute our resources to make this work. I think we all have our own giving thoughts and ideas about what we believe and are willing to give with. I have a giving situation where I give toward the United Way, toward Wounded Warriors, to USO, to the Library Foundation. Everyone has a giving thought, and I think we collectively need to give of ourselves through the taxes we pay, give of ourselves through the good causes and good works we support, give ourselves to the basic needs of a community, to recreate, to learn, to have a high cultural life, and that in order to do this, the city has to have everyone contributing. And right now, it's really kind of heavily loaded on the property taxes. I think that we probably have to step up in the private sector and the public sector as ourselves individually and give through basically a self-directed, motivated, collective effort by the other sectors of life than just the public sector to step up to plate and provide the necessary resources so that we can move forward. These are all messages that are contained in the budget, and you'll find more detail on our website as you go through all the different slides. Our proposed budget calls for a 3.5% increase in our municipal tax rate this year for the upcoming 2015 budget season. It projects out in the third year of the pilot, 2016, again a 3.5. And all that is based on providing dollars for capital improvements, for public safety, and to provide service to people in our community. As we look at the overall picture on property taxes, you know, municipalities, and our municipality has 37% of those property taxes. The school locally has 47% compared to the city's 37%, but the school state has another 10%. The county has a smaller portion, a 6%. All the functions and activities and outcomes we have are laid out pretty clearly, and that most of those dollars are put in the capital improvement program, the infrastructure program, the indebtedness that is needed to have such large-scale projects, and to public safety. And the capital instruction, remember, also includes the rates we pay for our services, for our sanitation and our water resources. You see every day how much money is being put into transportation. We invite everyone to be involved and to get involved, to understand the budget process and follow it along on the line. It's in the website. It's on this show today. We have very detailed information for you, so you're completely transparent. So you ought to know that. And then we want you to move up even a greater step and join us and participate in dialogue, learning. We'd like to have you all come to this coming year's Citizen Academy, which is funded by this budget. It's a 12-class Citizen Academy. We want you to take a little back seat and look at what we could do with how our community is. Maybe we need more mixed use because mixed use is less costly. And maybe we all need more partnering to have engagement in the community to bring more resources together. So with that in mind, I just want to close to thank the citizens for their willingness to support the city, to engage in the consideration of property taxes and their increases and how important they are for the building of a good community. We'll continue to be transparent, frugal. We have lean budgets. We'll continue to run lean. Oh, our workforce is maintained at a very very tight level. And look especially at all the outcomes we have. There's just some wonderful outcomes in these areas of public safety and in public works and in our economic vitality work. So we have some really great private partners through our chamber, our local businesses, and these institutions like Dartmouth Hitchcock. And we just want to continue to build bridges. Take a good look at all the material online. We invite you to participate. We're being prudent and we're being stewards, and we also think we have to be responsible so that when you are in this city that you have the infrastructure and the safety you need. And you also need to know that we are providing people services that serve people that are residents in our community and people that are stakeholders in our community. I want to thank you today. Pay good attention to the upcoming budget year. Do consider coming to the 2015 Citizen Academy. And look online, you'll find soon there'll be application forms for you to complete. This is Greg Lewis. This is your city manager. It's an honor to be able to be allowed to serve Lebanon, because it's a wonderful place in which all of us live and which we all need to get involved. Thank you very much.